How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to NRL Fantasy Analysis. Who here is ready for preseason trials? We have a full slate of games this weekend. Bunch of teams with a lot of their big stars playing, and then mixed in with some of the rookies or the guys in that 40-man squad, and then also some teams that are throwing out some of those guys in the outer levels of the squad. But a lot of things to be looking at in terms of different players and how they play. How coaches are looking to use those players, whether it be guys off the bench, in the forward rotation, for example, or something like in this Raiders game with how Savage is going to be used, and they do have CHK, sorry, what do we got? CNK on the bench. So we'll go through these straight away here with Raiders and the Roosters. So Savage is getting the number 1 role. Not exactly sure what that means. Maybe they're looking to see how he plays as in a starting role in terms of maybe that first 40 minutes, and then Chance can come on at halftime. I'd imagine that's something how it would play, whether Savage moves to a wing or something like that, or the centres. When Chance comes on is another way they might use him. But it'd be very interesting to see how he's come back from his injury. Obviously, really good news that he's being named in this trial, where we thought that he was going to be racing the clock for round 1. So very interesting to see how that one pans out. Also to see how Jared Croker goes, if he's got back to better form. I think that's going to be interesting to see when you've got guys like Sebastian Krish and a few of their other centres and wingers, the young guys. Obviously, Harley Smith-Shields is injured, but they got a couple other guys that could be in that role if Croker's not up to it. But I'd say that he's still going to get his opportunity to start the year, especially if he's being named in this trial this early. We'll see how his body's feeling. But that's that there. In terms of the rest of the guys, not too much to talk about in that top 7. We've got Horsburgh coming in the 8 role, in the prop role there. So he's someone who's been a great fantasy scorer, real PPM beast. And what we need from him is some bigger minutes like he got a couple of years ago. I don't think he gets that in this type of pack when you've got so many really, really good players that are fighting for different positions. We've got CHN, for example, who is a gun but might not end up getting a spot. When you've got Elliot Whitehead, you've got Sutton there, you've got Hudson Young. There's so many different guys. You've got Horsburgh to try and find a spot in that pack as well. When you have guys like Adam Elliott, who has been named on an edge, so it'll be interesting to see if that's where they're looking to play him, and I hope he does because he's definitely better in that role. But yeah, Elliott, for example, just a little bit a little bit too high of a price, I'd say, for me. If we're looking at him as a player. But I'd love to see Chance when he gets on the field as well, if they're splitting that 40 minutes or if he comes on and plays through the centres. There's all going to be information that we're looking at heading into that first team list in a few weeks' time. We're actually just under 3 weeks away from round 1, which is really exciting for me. I hope that is for you, especially if you're watching these type of videos. So moving over to our Roosters side, Lockie Lamb's in at the 1 position. There's no real point looking at that. I'd assume Adam Kieran here is trialling for a centre role. They do have a bunch of good players. Obviously, Momorowski is an option to go along with Joey Manu, so I wouldn't see Kieran as an option in round 1. Kevin Naguama on the edge, on the wing there, is going to be interesting. Obviously, we don't see Suwali in that starting team. We don't see him on the reserves either, so don't read into this too much as if that's going to be Naguama's spot going forward. But it'll be interesting to see how he plays. He's always been pretty solid, to be fair. Drew Hutchison is in the 6 jersey. He's going to be the first reserve with Walker and Keary going to be playing round 1, you'd imagine. And then we're looking into the forwards, and we haven't got too much to talk about here. A lot of guys other than Saluka, Fafita, and Marshke that have played a little bit of first grade. The other guys haven't had too much. So it's just interesting to watch those types of guys and see how close they really are to the top 20 or 22, let's say, because obviously it's going to be injuries, suspensions and stuff, and some of these guys might come onto the bench and play a 30-minute role. So just be interesting to watch those types of players in this first trial, for example. All right, we move to the Tigers and the Eagles, and the guy we want to look at here is Oliver Gildart from the Super League. So he's going to be interesting to see how good is he actually of a player. We'll find that out in this trial for sure. Obviously, there's a chance that he doesn't have an amazing game, but you'll be able to see just in his running style, his ability to hit a line, things like that. And we got Roberts on the other side there. Nofaluma's a little bit cheaper this year, but he's just someone that's very up and down. So he's going to have his spurts of really good scores, and then some where he doesn't play so well either. Stafford Toe is going to be an interesting one to look at as well. He's actually a really talented player, so good pick up from the Tigers. Just watch out for him, but at an awkward price at this stage, and in a team that isn't going to go too amazingly well. Lukey Brooks in at 7. Did anyone see Benji's comments about him being a sneaky Dally M hope? I don't think that will be the case, but yeah, he's going to be solid in fantasy as always. We'd like to see Stefano. I imagine it's going to be a pretty short stint for him. A little 30 minutes on the bounce, 25 to 30 in that first stint, and that might be it, especially for him and Tarmow. So I think they're going to try and look at what those two guys look like together, and it looks like Stefano is going to be getting that first crack at the starting role, which is great. Hopefully gets 50 to 55 minutes for our fantasy teams who are looking to pick him up. Jacob Little looks like he'll be our man to play the hooking role in the Tigers, which is cool. Again, just kind of outpriced at this stage. But Lucy Leilua and Tyron Peachy. So it'll be nice to see how Peach works with the guys around him. Obviously, Brooks on the left will be cool, and then Madden on the right. So yeah, how he works in the middle there as a link man. How's he going to play? Is he going to be more of that passing man? Is he going to run a lot? Is he going to get the 100 odd meters plus the 30 tackles? Like if he does, then he becomes a decent option, for example. And the guys on the bench, we got William K or Kai, who he's in a 30 jersey, which is interesting, but he's obviously a center there and could take the Roberts spot maybe, but we'll work that out as we go. Eagles, pretty strong side. It'd be just nice to see Tommy Trbojevic play. Very, very solid team here. We got two on the bench there. On the wing there. It's be interesting to see him. There's some decent raps on that fella. But Ben Trbojevic in the centers there. We have Carl Lawton in 9. So Lockie Croker not there at the moment. I still haven't heard anything about him not playing. If someone can send in an article or something as to what his issue is, I haven't really heard too much about Croker. So yeah, Lawton's either going to be hopefully on an edge, and someone I'd like to look at going forward is Bullimore. Fairly cheap, right? And if he gets a spot that's sort of 30 to 40 minutes on a bench, or if there's an injury through the edge, or if he happens to get that spot instead of someone like Lawton, for example, or Andrew Davey, then he becomes an interesting option who has a nice PPM. So keep an eye on him. Kepi's also solid. Paseka, a few people have talked to me about. So in terms of him in his fantasy scoring, he's a little bit up and down. Never usually gets big enough minutes. That's my worry with him. But definitely has some talent for sure. Look how many guys on the reserves. Crazy. All right, moving along. Storm and Warriors. On the Storm side, we see Jack Howarth in the centres. So it definitely brings a lot of utility, which I think could be a reason for him to play 14. And if he plays 14, I think you pick him up, because if there's an injury into any of the starters, he's going to pop into the back row or the centres and something like that. So that's something very interesting to me there. Nick Meaney in the 1 jersey obviously won't play there during the year, and George Jennings, you imagine they'll be fighting out for a wing spot, for example. Xavier Coates, it'd be nice to see him in this system, but obviously with Cooper Johns and Jaden Nikorima as the halves, it won't play the same as a maybe next week's trial would, for example. Joshy King in the 8 role is cool to see. We'll see if he gets a bench spot and some decent minutes. We'll find out what his PPM is like in this Storm system and go from there. We see Brandon Smith in the 13 role, Harry Grant on the bench. So, yeah, they'll play, I imagine, smaller minutes, those two. On the Warriors side, it'd be nice to see the progression of Reece Walsh. Rocco Berry, I'd like to see as well with some improvements, just some natural improvement as he gets a little bit older. Cody, Nikorima, and Ash Taylor. So, yeah, good to see how they go together as a combination. Obviously, with Sean Johnson out at this stage, we get to see a little bit more of Ewan Aiken in the 11 role, see how Lodge is playing. We know how he's going to play. And then a little bit for Fanua Blake with Jazz Savunga on the bench. So, yeah, not too much else on the Warriors side. Rabbitohs and the Cowboys there. We see Taff in the 1 jersey. We've seen him a little bit already. It'd just be cool to see if he has some natural improvement as well. We get to see Lockie Ellis, so one that everyone's pretty much picked up. We're good to see how he leads the team around and if he's going to be doing that a little bit more with Cody Walker on his left. Obviously, with this young fella, Campag Nolo in the 6 role. Jackson Paulo in the centre, so there's a chance that he plays that role as well at a cheaper price. Obviously, moving from the wing, he should score a little bit better. Should see a little bit more ball if that's the case. And then we move a little bit lower, so we got Mamazelos, who does score well in the 9 jersey. If Cook happens to go down, keep an eye out on him. He's been really good. Havili's going to play. If he is anything, he's going to be off the bench, so I wouldn't think too much of him. Shakai Mitchell, if that's how I say, sorry. Gets on the interchange as well. So you obviously saw him the other night as well in the All-Stars. And we look to the Cowboys team, and we know hardly any of these guys, if we're being honest, even as a Cowboys fan myself. Brendan Elliott's in there in the centres, but he won't be anything special for fantasy-wise. Dejan Assi as well in the 7 role. We got Ben Condon, who we know as well. Again, a couple of things to look at, but they're just going to see how these guys go together, and hopefully a full strength team next week would be my hopes for the Cowboys anyway. Setting alarms. Okay, so Titans and the Broncos is our next one. We get to have a look at Jaden Campbell, which is really cool. So yeah, to see again if there's going to be some natural progression if he dominates for 30-40 minutes, and we also see Toby Sexton as well as Greg Marzu and Isan Masters again looking for natural improvement with those guys. If you have any questions on what I mean by this, guys, or after the games, I'm going to do a bit of a review, but just ask in the comments and jump in the Discord as well if you haven't done that yet. And if you are new to the channel, please hit subscribe. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me. All right, on the Broncos side, we have Selwyn Cobbo. Again, just any time we can see him, it's going to be great. If he's going to be on the wing there, if there's a chance he plays in the 1 jersey. Interesting that he's not getting a chance at that 1 jersey with Tessie New out at this stage, so he might miss a couple of games. But yeah, Mead in that 1 jersey. Maybe they're just making sure that Cobbo is definitely going to play in the wing. That's probably my thoughts at this stage. Let's hope Katoni Staggs can keep on the park because he's a superstar. Albert Kelly will be running around in this first game. If he gets a 7 role, he's probably a little bit too expensive. But we've seen what he's done in the past. Maybe if he's playing off the bench, we can get his price down a little bit, and you can pick him up a little bit later. And then we look into the forwards. It'd be nice to see how Capewell plays in this type of match, and also Kobe Hetherington. So 2 guys to have a look at. Carrigan's on the bench in this game. We've got a Sarko on there as well. So yeah, not too much to talk about further with those guys. Moving along to the Sharks and also the Panthers. So on the Sharks side, we see a very, very inexperienced side here. We've got Brayden Trindle is going to run them around, which would be cool to watch him in action, improving as well. We get to see Jaden Berrell, the young fella that could get an opportunity at some point to take the 9 jersey if Blake Brayley's injured or suspended or something. So he's someone to keep on our radar for sure as to how he plays in this type of match. Obviously, he gets an understrength Panthers side, but it's still something. And other guys to think about in this team, guys like Franklin Pele, Teague Wilton, Talakai, Royce Hunt, they're all guys we should be half interested in, but just watching to see if they've improved over the years. And on the Panthers side, some really important ones is Isaac Tago. Charlie Staines in the 1 jersey is interesting as to why they're putting him here, maybe just to see what he can do. He obviously had not a great year last year, so that's will be nice to see him there and get a chance. Mitch Kenny, we've spoken about. If Appy's out, then he could be a decent option. That's about all on that side of things, and we'll move down to the Eels and the Dragons. Just remember, guys, the games kick off tonight, so jump on and have a look. I know a lot of the teams are going to be live streaming it as well, but you should be able to access these ones, all of them to watch. Whereas some games, the games in previous years were only on Fox, or you could only watch them. If they were getting streamed, or you had to pay for them to watch, or you just couldn't watch them in general unless you went to the game. So it's going to be very helpful this year. Eels side of things, we get to see Dunster, we get to see Penasini, Opacek. Will he get that spot? Well, looks like Penasini's a good chance of getting it after showing how well he played at the back end of last year in the finals, especially. Reid Mane, see how he's come back from his injury. Other than that, you got Mitch Rain coming off the bench, but again, he's only going to be relevant if there's an injury to Reid. And on the Dragon side, we see Cody Ramsey in the 1, not too relevant, but really weird that Tyrell Sloan is on the wing and Ramsey's been named in the 1. I don't know what that says to people that are picking up Tyrell, is if he's going to be starting on the wing and then they're going to switch. Like Sloan will go to fullback, Ramsey will go to 2, but I don't know why Ramsey's auditioning for that 1 role. I don't know if anyone else has any idea about that. Moses Sully, let's see how he goes in this role. And I actually like this combo of Moses Mbai with Talatai Amon, with him getting that opportunity to play with a guy that can, obviously Moses can control the team and Amon can do his thing. I think that'll be really cool. Obviously with Benny Hunt not playing in this one, I'll be having a clear eye on Talatai there. McCulloch, it'll be interesting to see him come back. Again, not an option at this stage. And it'll be good to see Georgie Burgess off the bench and see how he's progressing in his recovery from his really bad injury. All right, let's finish it off with the Knights and also the Dogs. So, guys to look at in this one, obviously Ponga, see how how good he's, how electric he's feeling. He came out with some news about his future, longer term future. Looks like he wants to stay with the Knights long term and win them a premiership, and that's what he said. So, let's hope that that's the case. If you're a Knights fan, especially, I do like him in that jersey. He looks great, and that headgear. So I'm happy with him being there. Let's hope that that the Knights can turn things around and grow with this younger squad, because they've obviously got some talent. Especially in the forwards, have a lot more experience now. But guys like Bradman Best, they got Gagai there. Guys like Clifford and Clune, if they can develop then with Dom Young and Ponga, in a few years they can be a decent side. So I can see why he'd be wanting to stay, as long as as well as the lifestyle. But yeah, good to see all those guys there, Clifford and Clune, how they work together. Pretty much gone for almost a full strength side here. We get to see Kurt Mann in the 13 role, so the rumours are true. Looks like he'll be a good chance of playing 13. We see Clemmer, Saifidi, Fitzgibbon on the bench, which is interesting that he's not starting over someone like Momasi, who I haven't heard of before. But yeah, we get to see Randall in the 9, how he's going to go as he improved as a player. All things to think about. Yeah, and on the dog side, we do see a fairly strong side thrown out. We do see Dufty, Ockenbaugh, and Shook in that top 3 there. We see Brandon Wakeham and Averillo. So we see, interesting to see what happens with Averillo. Is he the one going to be marching the team around? And in the forwards, we see a fully strong, completely strong forward pack there. We see Tavita on the edge. We see Hetherington on there as well, which is interesting. Paul Vaughan up front, which is cool. And we got guys like Biondi, Odo, and Torpenny, who are in there as well. So guys to check out for sure. But Flanagan is still in the reserves. He still doesn't get a crack over someone like Wakeham. So probably shows that one of these two, I'd say, will be partnering Burton in the next trial, or definitely in round 1. So that's something to think about. They got a couple of guys to come back. But there you go, good team. That's all the trial games. I hope that helps you guys in terms of looking into people you want to be watching closely in this week's trials. And I hope you enjoy all the games and take a lot out of it. Be sure to keep looking into all the videos that I'm putting out, and I appreciate all the support, guys. Have a great day.